Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. And, you talk about the United States and the back roads. We have a back road specialist with us today, and he is Mr. Motorcycle Cannonball, Jason Sims. Good to have you with us.
Hey, Gary, how goes it today?
It goes good. You have put on probably more miles on back roads of the U.S. than maybe anybody. But tell me, where are you today?
I'm actually back at one of my residents in Apache Junction, Arizona. Just got back late last night at about 1 a.m. Just got done doing about another 1,400 miles or so on the road, getting prepared for September.
So the Motorcycle Cannonball is no small effort because this year's race goes from East Coast to West Coast. Give us a few of the details of kind of what the race is about, and then we'll talk about some of the specifics.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year's Motorcycle Cannonball is a challenge of antique motorcycles that are 1933 and older. This year, it's an event that we put on every 2 years. This year, we're starting from Virginia Beach, Virginia, taking the best 2-lane roads of America all the way over to Oceanside, California, for a total of about 3,806 miles now, and over a 17-day period.
Well, one of the things I know when you talk about the old motorcycles, many of them are 100 years old. A lot of them are 90 years old. So you have these old motorcycles. What does it take to get across a 3,800-mile course with that kind of motorcycle?
It's what I tell a lot of people. I said, the hardest part of actually doing this event and making it across the country is just getting to the starting line. That's the biggest endeavor that everybody chases. It's finding the parts, finding the people to work on these things, to rebuild them. Once they get to the starting line in Virginia Beach, really that's the easy part. And the most rewarding part is to, get to see some of these places that we take you across the country. Really, that's your reward for just getting to the starting line.
Well, I can attest to that, Jason, because having been on the last Cannonball, and I have my Live to Ride bike ready to go. I say ready to go. There's a few tweaks I need to do on it, but that preparation part is so key. But the fun of the ride is not only being successful and making all the miles, but it is the back roads are just pretty impressive. How do you go about finding the roads and how to get to the different spots?
A lot of it's a lot of research. A lot of it is actually putting in the time, going from coast to coast, getting off the interstate pathways. I listen to a lot of people of where they've ridden. Of course, social media is a big thing now of being able to follow and see and witness what other people are doing and the paths that they're taking on 2-lane roads. It's a lot of map work, multiple maps, and it's just trying to put something together to get from point A to point B every day and make it the most enjoyable ride that we can.
Well, you pick out some really cool old roads. What are some of the highlights for this year's Cannonball?
There's so many on this one. And honestly, and I say it every time that we put a route together, that this is probably the best one ever. And, I can attest this time that it probably really is true that this is the best route that has probably been put together in Cannonball history. Just for the fact of, the small little 2-lane roads that we're on, the challenging of getting through like the Smoky Mountains. We're seeing more national parks than we ever have this year. There's days that we're actually 2 or 3 national parks in one day, which is pretty impressive. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about the route and what riders will get to experience this year. They're going to be blown away for sure.
Well, one of the things I know, when you get into the mountains, there's going to be one peak, a pass that goes 11,000 feet. You're talking old motorcycles. You're talking old motorcycles that are doing these rides. what do you see along the route? What's the biggest challenge for the riders to make all their miles?
I think this year, we've got a lot of elevation changes this year. Where we're constantly going up, down, up, down, up, down. I think that'll be a little bit of a challenge and a little bit harder on the machines. Of course, we're going over Monarch Pass in Colorado, which is 11,300 and some feet. That'll be a test to the machines, as everything's carbureted. Riders will probably have to adjusting on the fly, because I think we start at about 6,000, climb to 5,000, and then back down to 6,000 pretty quick. So, the air is way different, and the fuel mixtures, and I think that'll play a little havoc. It's not by any means flat getting up there, so it's a struggle for cars sometimes to get up that. So it'll be interesting to see how people do on that challenge. We've got a lot of stuff that may challenge people this year that are height. There's just a lot of roads that if you're afraid of heights, it might bother you a little bit. These tiny twisty curvy roads with no guardrails, and it's straight drop offs, and it gets you a little queasy sometimes. Of course, we're passing the Royal Gorge Bridge, which is 1,000 feet above the earth, on a wooden plank bridge that you can see down below. That'll get a few people going.
I don't know if goosebumps are right, but I'm saying, boy, this is going to be exciting, especially when you talk about no guardrails and things like that, and old brakes. Everything on these motorcycles are old. And one of the things I've experienced on doing this is, one, it's the excitement of riding, but there's also the excitement of the people that show up at the stops. And you have
Absolutely.
these orchestrated very well, but people show up to see these old motorcycles and really they may be looking at the riders who are crazy enough to do this, but they do come to take a look at the motorcycle.
Oh, absolutely. Really what we have is a traveling museum. That we have motorcycles on this run that you may not even ever see in a museum. But here you get to actually see them running, riding, and then, these crazy guys doing what they're doing of, putting many miles on them every single day.
One of the cool things is that you are going to go through Kansas on this particular route. What are the stops along Kansas? Somebody that happens to be in Missouri, Kansas, even Colorado, what are the stops, and how can people find out more about that?
Yeah, we've got some really great stops coming through the Midwest this year. One of our overnight stops is Branson, Missouri, which will be pretty spectacular, getting in and out of there. The next night will be at the Twisted Oz Museum in Augusta, Kansas. We're blessed to have our day off in Kansas this year, in Wichita, so riders will be able to go back to Augusta, use the shops there. We've got some other shops lined up in the Wichita area, and just get refreshed before we head over to Colorado. We got a really great stop planned in Garden City, Kansas. The community's really on board there, and excited for us to come. And then we pop over into Colorado Springs at the Rocky Mountain Motorcycle Museum, which will be another spectacular stop.
So if somebody wants to take a look at some great old motorcycles, it's a great time to do that. You have a website up. How do people find out where to stop?
Yeah, you can find out all the information on our website, which is motorcyclecannonball.com. Of course, we're really active on social media with Facebook and Instagram, and we're putting a ton of information out there daily. Now that we're in the last little stretch, just less than 3 weeks out, a lot of information coming out there where you'll be able to find exact times, exact dates, and where to find us.
Now, I'm riding a 1926 Harley Davidson JD. What are you riding, Jason?
Well, that's a good question. It changes daily. Some days I'm thinking, I'm going to ride. I have a 25 prepared for the ride. I also have a modern BMW. And then I have a Ford Transit van. So it might be a combination of all three. And, you just never know where I'm needed. So.
And you're not lacking for motorcycles. You're a great history buff. How did the Cannonball get started?
So the Cannonball started back in 2009. My partner, who had since passed away here just a few years ago, had an idea of just getting a bunch of buddies together and riding across the country. And that's really what they did. He put a name and a website together, and it kind of just went viral. And 14 years later, here we are, doing our 7th event.
Well, it's been exciting. You've added some other events along the line. I know that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the motorcycles that people could see. Jason, if you hang with me, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah,
We'll be
absolutely.
back. Our guest, Jason Sims, who is Mr. Motorcycle Cannonball. Back with more after this.
The most successful investors are those that can keep their emotions in check and take a longer-term view at what portfolios will be worth 3 to 5 years down the road. I'd say that's the most important in determining what investor outcomes are. Market corrections will continue in the future. We've seen many of them over the years, only to see equity prices rise higher, and that'll be the case in the future.
Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Back again on Forward Ever, brought to you by Worth Wealth Management. Our guest today is Jason Sims. I'm going to call him Mr. Motorcycle Cannonball. I typically call him Jason. He's a great rider and represents so many of the old motorcycles and some of the heritage that goes along with the history of how motorcycles got started. Jason, what will people see if they show up to, say, the stop in Augusta? Twisted Oz is a wonderful museum. Just
Absolutely.
outside of Wichita. It's a great history of motorcycles there. But what will you
Absolutely.
see on the road driving? What types of bikes will you see?
We've really got a great eclectic mix this year. Of course, Harleys always dominate. So a majority of the motorcycles are pre-1933 Harleys. We've got a lot of JDs, a lot of VL flatheads, a few early ones. The earliest Harley you'll see this year is a 1911, ridden by Dave Courier, that actually won the event last year. He's going back to try to repeat again. We've got Indians. Our oldest bike is a 1909 Indian single cylinder. We got Moto Guzzi's, we've got Triumphs, Gileras. There's so many different ones that we have this year. We've got some really unique ones. So like the Netherlands, we've got some teams coming over from overseas, a French motorcycle, I think an Italian motorcycle from an Italian team. Just a lot of stuff, like I said earlier, that you may not ever see in a museum, but you're going to see it right here on the Motorcycle Cannonball and running across the country.
Well, I hope people have a chance to stop. Those of us that are riding, I use it for a live to ride to be able to talk about that to people along the route. But it is so much more than just one motorcycle. How many are going to be on the road this time, Jason? How many will be in the event?
It looks like we'll have right at about 90 motorcycles on this event. Hopefully by the Kansas, we'll still have 90.
There's a wagon that you don't want to be on. They call it the trailer of shame. If your motorcycle doesn't quite make it to the next stop, you get picked up and hauled in.
Yeah.
That has happened. It's always interesting to see what comes in at the end of the day on those. Weather is a big player as well. Have you forecast great weather for the whole trip?
We have to. This is a competition. We can't just give you nice weather every day and country club rides. So I've ordered a little bit of Mother Nature here and there, and we'll just see what we come up with.
Yeah, that's good to know. I'll bring my rain gear along, Jason.
You're definitely going to. It hasn't been a Cannonball that we haven't experienced perfect weather. So
I know we had some pretty good rain in the last one, and Dave Courier, who won that, had that belt drive. Old motorcycle. You're going, how is that belt going to hold up? And I think he went through multiple belts getting through, but he made it through that day. And there was a lot of water on the road that day.
Yeah. It was kind of funny to see him, what he had to do to make it through the day. He actually stopped at a dollar store and bought a steel pot and cut the pot and put it over the belt so it would deflect the water coming off the road from it. And he ended up keeping it on there the rest of the ride. And, that's some of the stuff that you'll see from these riders of, really redneck fixing to get back on the road every day while you're out on the road, what you can do to keep going and make all the miles.
zip ties and baling wire always come in handy on that thing. So,
Oh yeah, duct tape and a hammer also
oh yeah,
are
you got to have that.
some
Yeah.
of the favorites.
Well, Jason, I wish you well and wish the riders well. Are there riders that have been in all of the races so far?
This is the first year ever that we have somebody that hasn't done all the races. So we've got some guys, we've done 7 events now. There's some people that have done 6, but there won't be anybody that's done all 7 on this one.
That's a lot of miles and a lot of fun on great country roads. And I know you can't tell me about it. You can't tell the specific routes, but the mapping system is unique. Who puts that together?
I actually do. I put all that together. I've actually gone out in the country 3 times this year. I've gone coast to coast. We put it together back here. We write all the maps, and then we check it for accuracy 3 times. And I think we're on version 35 or 36 now of that's how many different changes we've had to make in the last year. Choosing different cities, because maybe a hotel falls out, or road construction or natural disasters. And I mean, even today, I got home at 1:00 last night, and I'm making changes, and I got to leave again tomorrow to go fix some stuff. So
yeah, the maps come out in a long piece of paper that you scroll through as you ride throughout the day. So it's a little bit of the old-fashioned way to find your way across the country. And Jason, I know you don't do this by yourself. Who all helps you get this done?
I've got a great team of people. Of course, my wife is very instrumental in a lot of this, and then just some great staff and volunteers that come with us on the route. So.
Well, I hope everything goes well. I hope the weather stays good and that all the riders, myself included, make it the entire route. Jason, thanks for joining us today. One time more, what's Facebook, and where do you go to find you online?
Of course, you can always see us on our website, motorcyclecannonball.com. Also find us on Facebook under Motorcycle Cannonball, and then Instagram under MC_Cannonball.
All right. Well, and tell you what, I'll also link that on my live.
Also, we got a great YouTube channel. With our Facebook and YouTube, we'll be doing live videos every day, checking with the riders, see what's going on, and show you just a brief glimpse of what's going on daily.
I think if you search for Motorcycle Cannonball, you can find a lot of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
It's great. Jason, thanks for putting this together. Thanks for sharing the story. And those interested, go check it out. And if you have a chance at any of the locations along the route, go see the riders, go see the great bikes that are out there, and enjoy some of the wonderful history of motorcycles, and enjoy those that are trying to keep them running across the country. Jason, thanks. Tell Leanne hi for me, and you guys have a terrific day.
All right, sounds great. See you down the road.
Guest today is Jason Sims, who is Mr. Motorcycle Cannonball. The Motorcycle Cannonball is coming up in September. It'll start on the 7th and I think end on the 24th or 25th out in California. So it's a great time. If you check it out, see those old motorcycles, you'll have fun. Our program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management. Thanks for listening. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.